President Trump's lingering public feud with California is heating up again.
That's right. Now Governor Gavin Newsom is firing back at the president big time. Tonight, KCAL 9 political reporter Dave Bryan shows us what the governor is saying. Dave?
Yeah, this was an interview the governor did this evening with CNN, and it focused primarily on immigration-related issues. Governor Newsom following up on an interview last Friday when he said that Trumpism is spreading racism, xenophobia, and nativism. And tonight, he did not back away from that, and in fact, criticized President Trump directly on a long list of other issues.
But 2,000-mile wall is a monument to stupidity, not just vanity, to stupidity.
In a no-holds-barred interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper Monday evening, California Governor Gavin Newsom criticized President Trump on a variety of hot-button issues, including the border wall controversy, making the president appear to be something like the political version of P.T. Barnum.
It's pure political theater. He creates these sideshows, this political theater, this political grandstanding.
And referring to the president's attempts to spend billions of dollars on building the border wall, all a big distraction, Newsom says, to steer away from more substantive solutions to the immigration problem.
Send us down the vortex of this political theater on something he knows he can't deliver, but will continue to perpetuate as a theme to satiate his base.
The interview followed up on an interview Newsom did with CNN last Friday, in which he was asked about whether he thinks President Trump is prejudiced.
Yeah, I think a lot of the actions that we've seen over the last few years, by definition, are textbook nativist, textbook xenophobic, textbook racist.
And Governor Newsom defended a $25 million proposed California program to assist asylum seekers who cross the border into the state, because he says the federal government is not doing its job.
And the federal government turns its back to them, turns a blind eye to them. California will not. And if they won't do their job, we'll do their job.
But the mood between the governor and the president was very different last November when President Trump came to California to view areas ravaged by the wildfires.
I know that we're going to work together. I have no doubt. Come here. I have no doubt. Right? We're going to get it done.
That was President Trump and then Governor-elect Newsom shaking hands and embracing one another and pledging to work together on addressing the fire disaster. But after the visit, the two men couldn't even agree on what Newsom said when he called the president.
He said, I just want to tell you, you're a great president, and you're one of the smartest people I've ever met.
You can't make this up, Anderson. I think we hear what we want to hear. So, no, I can't admit, quote unquote, to what I said to the president privately, because that's not what I said.
Well, the fact that the president and the governor couldn't even agree on their phone call notwithstanding, the governor still insists he wants to work with the president on issues like emergency preparedness and emergency planning. But Newsom added that if the president's going to continue his attacks on California, that is not acceptable, and he will make sure the president knows it. Susie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dave.